So hi guys, welcome back to the class, and we were doing the chapter called as basics, wherein we have completed our total 9 answers. That was the last question. What we did was on fraud triangle. I hope you remember that the code was more. In Hindi, more is peacock. More talks about the motive, the opportunity, and the rationalization. Okay, this was discovered by Donald Tracy, a sociologist and criminologist in 1940s. Okay, so there were 9 concepts which we have studied. Let's quickly have a recap or whatever we have studied till now, so that we move on to the further content. So first we learn the definition of forensics, then we discuss forensic accounting, that is basically checking of books of accounts and everything regarding fraud. Then third we discuss the definition of fraud. Then fourth was the investigation. To collect the evidence, to ask question is basically investigation. The technique to detect whether the fraud has happened or not, it is basically investigation. Okay. Then there were some examples of everything. Then number fifth was what is audit basically. Number 6, what is forensics. Number 7 was what is forensic, what is investigation. So 5, 6, 7 audit, forensics and investigation. Okay. Then number 8 was meaning of stakeholders. There were 2 kinds of stakeholders, primary stakeholders and other stakeholders. Primary stakeholders are basically people who will appoint you. It could be a client, it could be an authority. People related to that entity or the organization would be called as other stakeholders. It will include customers, lenders, suppliers, business partners, consumers, current or past employees. Okay. Then ninth answer was the fraud triangle. Fraud triangle talks about more, motive, operational, rationalization. No, motive is basically why you want to do that fraud. What is an intention? Okay, opportunity is how there's a chance to do the fraud. There's a loophole in the system or the company. It is called as opportunity. Rationalization basically means whatever I'm doing, I'm correct. Okay, I am the God, I am the Bhagwan. Okay, I can do the right thing. It is called as rationalization. Okay, more. Now we continue from the fraud diamond ka concept. Fraud diamond. Okay, so like we had fraud triangle, then somebody called as Wolf and Hermanson, these 2 mad fellows institute a fraud diamond, saying that there is a capability also to do the fraud. So there were 4 points here. So incentive is basically the motive, O is your opportunity, R is your rationalization, and third one is the capability, that is I am capable to do that. It is called as fraud diamond. So fraud diamond ka they can ask you in the exam. So you will say it is CORI. What we will say, it is CORI, capability, opportunity, rationalization, incentive. They can ask us to identify the odd man out. It is CORI, capability, opportunity, rationalization, incentive. The fraud diamond theory states that all these 3 ingredients are essential, but the critical component in turning the fraud opportunity into reality is the capability. The fraudster should have the necessary traits and the abilities to be the right person to pull it off, and also the confidence and the ego to escape the detection or to escape from any severe consequences if detected. So he should have that capability that I will do the fraud, and in case if I get caught also, I would be in a position that I can move away. Okay, I can escape those liabilities, called as capability. So this becomes your 10th answer. Fraud diamond, CORI. Now, so after triangle, we had 4 fraud diamond. Now we have fraud pentagon, 5th element. Now, the 2 aspects which are added to the fraud pentagon are basically, so there was rationalization, there was opportunity, there was pressure. 2 things are added. What it is? It is competence and arrogance. Competence is basically again capability. It is an extension of the element of opportunity to include an individual's ability to override the internal controls and to socially control the situation to his advantage. It is basically capable, how well you can pull it off. Arrogance, it is the attitude of superiority and the entitlement of greed. I will do it. I want to do it. On the part of the perpetrator. Perpetrator basically means the person who do the fraud. Okay, who believes that the company policy and procedure do not apply to him. Boss cannot do anything with me, I can do it. Okay, that's arrogance. So here they have added competence and arrogance. So please underline this, competence and arrogance. So we had triangle, more. We had diamond, CORI. Now we have pentagon, competence, arrogance, rationalization, pressure, and opportunity. Carpo, competence, arrogance, rationalization, uh, then pressure and opportunity. Then 12th, fraud scale. Now there is another theory on the propounded by Steve Albrecht. It says that situational pressure or the perceived opportunity or the integrity are the three factors that leads to main fraud. That is pressure, opportunity and integrity. Pressure is situational pressure. Opportunity is like perceived, I can see there's a loophole. Integrity, that means I am not honest. Okay, are the three factors that leads to fraud. When the situational pressures and the opportunities are high and personal integrity is low, I am not honest. Obviously, fraud is more likely to happen when the opposite is true. Occupational fraud is much more likely to happen than when the opposite is true. So when the situational pressure and the opposite is high and the integrity is low, obviously there are more chances of fraud. It also states that perpetrators are hard to profile and fraud difficult to predict. So this is a description basically. So this is similar to a fraud scale. Situational pressures. See, situational pressures are low. Opportunity to commit is also low. And personal integrity is also low. So the fraud scale is here. No fraud. But if I say pressure is more, opportunity is also there is more, and my integrity is low, then there would be high fraud. So if the pressure is high, opportunity to commit is also high, and the integrity is low, obviously there would be a fraud. Now, another notable theory is fraud circle. This theory recognizes the fact that fraud is omnipresent everywhere, and wherever there will be money, there will always be a fraud circle. That means everywhere there will be a fraud. So we have triangle, we have diamond, we have pentagon, we have scale, and we have circle. 5 shapes. I am teaching you geometry. 5 scales are there. Triangle, pentagon, triangle, diamond, pentagon, scale and circle. Not so important here. So total till now we have studied 12 answers. So you will read 10, 11, 12. 10, 11, 12. Read from the screen. Now, from here we gonna do answer number 13, that is basically your FICE. FICE are basically Forensic Accounting and Investigation Standard. What it is? Forensic Accounting and Investigation Standard. Now, FICE have been introduced by the ICI. It has become mandatory for all the engagements conducted after 1st July 23. So, if you are doing forensic accounting, so mandatorily you have to follow FICE, Forensic Accounting and Investigation Standards. So, basically it provides the professionals, whoever is doing the forensic engagement, he will provide with minimum standards for undertaking FICE, Forensic Accounting Investigation engagements. The users of FICE services will have a quality of service. What they will have? They will have a quality of services. Plus the regulators and the agencies with an appreciation of what can be expected from the FICE services. So everybody will have a good quality. The regulators, the agency will now know that the report what the professional is submitting, it will be matching with the standards. Okay. And they will be providing the guidance on the matters of implementation and related practical issue. Who brings FICE? ICI brings. It is mandatory if you are doing a forensic engagement. Okay. Cut up. Cancel. Now, framework. Now, from here, please mark. Besides defining the key term, the framework consists of 4 key components. There are 4 components. First one is the principles of the FICE. Then there are concepts of the FICE. Then there are standards on FICE, and there is guidance on FICE. Principles, concepts, standards, guidance. Principles, concepts, standards, guidance. Principle, concepts, standards, guidance. Okay. The 4 components are based on the code of ethics of the ICI. The FICE are minimum set of requirements that apply to all the members of ICI when you are conducting with FICE assignments of any entity. So it is applicable to whom, guys? It is applicable to all the members of institute when you are conducting which assignments? FICE assignments. Members of ICI conducting FICE assignments. The mandatory nature of FICE implies that while carrying on any FICE engagement, it shall be the duty of the professional to ensure that they comply with the standards. So all the members of ICI, if you are doing FICE engagement, you have to comply with the standards. Okay. If for any reason you are unable to comply with any of the requirements of the standard, or there is a conflict between the standard and the other mandates, then you have to give attention to the material departures along with the proper explanation. So if there is a departure, if you are following something else, or if it is unable to follow some requirement of a standard, or some standard is not able, you are not able to follow, so you have to write, you have to draw attention to the departure along with the proper explanation, along with the appropriate explanation. Cancel this. The main objective of the framework are 2. The main objectives is this. So all this will be there in MCQ basic. The main objective of framework is what? To provide an overall understanding of the forensic accounting investigation and its key components, outline the manner in which those components come together, maintain and continuously improve the quality of FICE services. So the objective of the framework, so IC have come up with a framework. That framework will provide overall understanding of FICE and its components. Number 2, outline the manner in which these components will come together in interrelated cohesive manner. And 3rd, maintain and continuously improve the quality of FICE services. This is main objective of the framework. Cancel this. Then, a member of ICI carrying out a FICE engagement have to follow requirements of CA Act, Code of Ethics issued by ICI, and the relevant pronouncement of the ICI. We know this. So, you have to comply with Code of Ethics, you have to comply with CA Act, you have to comply with other relevant pronouncements of the ICI, like CP, ASCA guidelines. Are there any other guidelines which is applicable to a chartered accountant? Now, those 4 things: principles, components, standards, guidance. Now, we are talking about one by one. First, the principles. Now, cancel this. There are 10 principles of FICE. It is, you must have done in audit if you have started audit with me, or if you have not started in interim level, you must have done independence, integrity, objectivity, professional care, confidentiality, skill and competence, then contextualization of the situation, like understanding of the situation, then primacy of truth, how true the fact is, then rights and obligations, separating facts from the opinion, because here as a forensic professional you will not be giving an opinion, you will be establishing a fact, and the quality and continuous improvement. So these are the 10 principles of the FICE: independence, integrity, objectivity, professional care, confidentiality, skills and competence. These are inter-level things. 5 are new principles here, like audit may use do all these 5 principles. This 5 plus this 5 will make your 10 principles of FICE. Contextualization of the situation, primacy of truth, rights and obligations, separating facts from the opinion, and continuous improvement, quality and continuous improvement. Now they will be explaining one by one all those principles. So first, independence. So I will just explain you in short. So it's basic thing. Independence is like you will not be asserted to any pressure. Forensic professional, you have to be independent of the entity. Okay, there should be no undue influence. Like for example, if my father-in-law is appointing me, so obviously there are fraud also happening. I will be always favoring my father-in-law. Imagine my brother-in-law was committing a crime. So I will never be able to report it. Why? Food, night problem at home, food problem. Because my independence is getting affected there. So I should be independent. The forensic professional should always be independent. Number 2, integrity and objectivity. Integrity basically means honesty, sincerity. Objectivity basically means there should be no bias, there should be no favorism. Whatever you're getting it should be clear. There should be no unbiased thing. I mean, you should be unbiased. There should be no biasness. That is called, talks about objectivity. So professional care. Professional care means whenever you are doing the activity, okay, you have to use your brain. You have to be updated with the law. You have to be updated with the standards applicable, okay. And there should be proper communication with the entity or the client or the primary stakeholders, whoever is appointed. It's called professional care. They have given you the engagement and you are not responding them. You are not doing work. So it's a wrong thing. You have to work professionally. Then confidentiality. The fact of one client you should not disclose to another client. You need to maintain the data confidential, because here the perpetrator of fraud, if he comes to know that he has been caught, he may try to escape, he may try to improve the situation. So that's the reason you need to maintain the principle of confidentiality. So first one was independence, integrity and objectivity, professional care, confidentiality. Fifth one is your skills and competence. So it says the professional shall undertake only those engagement for which they have requisite competence. Firstly, the professional shall have a required qualification to undertake 5 engagement. A chartered accountant qualification supplemented with legal qualification, that means law, LLB if you have done, or any other post qualification certificate course are ideal. Global qualification, certification, such similar credentials carry requisite weightage. Secondly, he should also have the knowledge, practical experience, professional expertise in forensic accounting and investigation domains. Skills and competence, that means brain, you should be knowledgeable. Then principles of performance, it is contextualization of the situation. Now every forensic engagement is unique, it is different. So the environment, the company where you are working, it is also will be different. So here you have to evolve every time. You have to develop yourself in such a way that you get mixed with that situation. Like for example, if I am doing a forensic engagement with Reliance, with the procedure, the approach what I will use for Reliance will not be same for HDFC Bank. Or it will not be same with the, I would say, Tupperware, not Tupperware company, because the operation, the scale of operations, the revenue, the money will be very different. It is called contextualization of the situations. It cannot be conducted in isolation. The context of situation and environment where the transaction or operation takes place is important to understand the complete picture. Every 5 engagement is unique. The nature of the business, the situation, the complexity of the environment, the circumstances, the time and the manner, plus the involvement of the people in affairs, all need to be well understood to understand the situation, to understand the 5 assignment, okay. Because imagine if you are doing Amazon ka 5 engagement, okay, and Amazon mein some fraud has happened. So there it's e-commerce, it's a content, like every minute they get order. So you need to have a stop. Okay, so let's pause. We need to find out the facts. So you need to understand the situation. Same approach can't be used in HDFC Bank. Same approach can't be used in Reliance. It is called as contextualization of the situation. Then primacy of truth. Okay, here you are not giving any opinion. Here you are establishing a fact. So if fraud has happened, you should be competent enough to provide the evidence. Yeah, sir, this is the thing. I have got the evidence. It says in any 5 engagement, all the activities shall be centered around finding the truth. Therefore, the primary objective of the profession is to unearth the reality behind the every allegation dispute, which in turn shall be based on the facts, figures and reliable evidential matter. Okay, primacy is the truth. Respecting rights and obligation. If somebody has done a fraud, okay, you are not professional, you are not the person who will tell them, oh, this much is the fine, this much is the imprisonment. It is a judicial proceeding, the court will judge. Every person will have a right, okay, to prove himself, right, in the court. So you can't deny that. So due to the nature of fine assignment, it is critical to obtain and understand the views and standpoint of all the parties. Just as much as the professional has a right of examination to unearth the truth, the suspect have a similar right to defend their innocence. So like you are saying that he has done fraud, so he has a right to defend himself. The professional is expected to seek information and evidence from the suspect to understand their perspective. Okay. Separating facts from the opinion. You are going and interviewing the question, that is you are doing some investigation. The secretary is saying, I think director have done the fraud. I think so. Watchman is saying the secretary has done the fraud. So it is their opinion. You can't just believe those opinions. You need to find the facts. Many times in discovering evidential matters, interviews are sought from those who can provide information to the professional. Under such circumstances, there is a risk in the information getting contaminated with the personal opinion. If imagine the secretary and director were in affair and then they broke up. So the secretary will blame director will blame secretary. It is their opinion. But imagine third party has done a fraud. In movies you must have seen. These people blame each other, but the fraudster is somebody else. The murderer is somebody else. Therefore, there could be circumstances where facts are not relevant to the examination may introduce an element of bias. The professional needs to guard against such situation where opinions and such bias may cause diversion from the main objective of bias. So you have to separate facts from the opinions. Then, quality and continuous improvement. So because if you have done one assignment, that doesn't mean that you are pro. So you need to continuously improve, you need to study, you need to understand different cases, okay. The quality of the work performed shall paramount be to the professional, and since the credibility of the outcome depends upon the reliability of findings, so he should have a process of quality control to ensure factual authenticity, validate the accuracy of the findings, and continuously improve the quality of process. So you should be updated, you should study, you should understand SEBI law, legal laws, all the environment you should be updated. I mean you need to update, okay. So these are the 10 principles of the professional accountant which you need to follow. In the exam they will give you a story, they will ask us to identify the which principle they are talking, or they will use a principle and out of 4, 1 will be from the principle ka thing, or 3 will be principle, 1 odd man out. So let's quickly revise what it says. My first principle says independence, you have to be independent. Integrity objective talks about honesty, sincerity and no biasness. Then third, confidential talks about you need to maintain confidential data. Diligence, competence, you have to be more competent enough, okay. And then fifth one was professional care. You need to be more updated, you need to talk to the client whoever has appointed you, okay. These are 5 basic principles. Sixth, contextualization of the situation, you need to understand all the situations. 7, you need to find out the truth. 8, you have a right to suspect have a right to inform, I mean to have a defend himself. 9, separate fact from the opinion. And 10th one is basically continuous improvement, okay. Then key concept forming integral part of forensic accounting and investigation. So here it says there are certain concepts which form the integral part of 5 domain and easy to apply to most engagement. The key concepts are basically NFLA. We call this as NFLA. NFLA. Right there, NFLA. Nature of engagement, the fraud ka risk, the laws and regulations, and applying hypothesis. Nature of engagement, fraud, risk, laws and regulations, applying hypothesis. I'll explain in later stage. Like we have NAFRA, we have NAFLA. NAFRA, NAFLA. So principles are over. If you remember, there were 4 concepts, 4 pillars. Principles. So there are 10 principles. Now we are learning concepts. Concepts is based on NAFLA. Nature, fraud, risk factors. Then L is basically your laws and regulations, and A is applying hypothesis. So we are understanding this in deep. So we have done the principle ka part. Now we are doing and concept ka part. Concept is based on NAFLA. Then we'll talk about standards and then guidance. Okay. Now what you have to do, you will start reading from 13. Okay. And there were 4 pillars. Out of 4 pillars, we have done 2 pillars. Okay. We have done basic principles. There are 10 principles. Concept is based on 4. That is NAFLA. That is over. Then we will do standards on 5. Okay. So now you will read till whatever we have studied, you will read that. Okay. Read. Done. So we have done the principle ka concept, we have done the concept ka concept. Okay, principle ka concept and concept ka concept. Now we are talking about standards. Okay, cancel this. Now, so guidance ka they have given only few line. These are the set of guidelines which include guidance notes, implementation guides and technical guides. These guidelines are important for the implementation of FICE and to provide clarification for their applicability under various circumstances. They also assist the profession designing the forensic accounting procedure. So basically guidelines are used to implement those standards. As such, guidelines are not in our syllabus, we just have the standards. Okay, principles I have taught you, concept we have done, guidelines we have done. Now we talk about the standards. Now here we need to understand the name and the content of the standard because it's a new thing. So definitely I say I will test you in the exam. Okay, you need to understand the name and the meaning. Okay, now first we talk about 100 ka series. Okay, 100 ka series. Now in 100, following standards on key concepts have been issued. First, so I write Roman numbers. Okay, because it is same 12th answer is, sorry, 13th answer, right? Yeah, 5 is only going on. So in 13 mein, first my standard is 110, that is basically nature of engagement. Nature of engagement. So the standard outlines that there are 3 different kinds of engagement which can be performed under the FICE. First one is what? This we have done it previously. Accounting, investigation, litigation. Remember this? We have done this. ILA, IL, whatever you want to say. FIL, whatever you want to say. Forensic accounting, investigation, litigation. Now the standard lays on the key concept regarding the nature of the engagement. So 110 is nature of engagement. You can do 3 types of engagement. Forensic accounting, I is investigation, L is litigation support. The main objective of the standards is to have clarity on the purpose of engagement. Why you want to do this engagement. Define the appropriate forensic investigation engagement scope and approach, and identify any skills or resources required. So the purpose, the approach and the skills required. So my 110 talks about the nature of engagement. 110 is nature of engagement. 120, number 2, 120. So like we have standards on auditing, here we have FICE. Like we have accounting standards, we have Ind AS, here we have FICE. So FICE 120 talks about fraud risk. So nature of engagement, fraud risk. Forensic accounting and investigation engagement generally involve the possibility of fraudulent events or suspicious transaction. Now fraud may we talks about intentional things, deliberate things. Okay, so it is written here, fraud is an intentional deliberate act to deprive another of the property or money through deception or unfair means. This we have done in the definition, previous definition. Okay, FICE 120 deals with the professional ka responsibility to understand fraud risk ka concept and how they may apply to the engagement. So fraud risk 120, nature of engagement 100, fraud risk 120. 130, laws and regulation. Nature of engagement, fraud risk, laws and regulation. Each FICE is unique and in some cases it is subject to some relevant applicable statutes, basically law and regulation. So the professional accountant has to be updated with those applicable laws and regulations. So laws and regulations written in FICE number 130. FICE number 130 talks about laws and regulation. Nature of engagement, fraud risk, laws and regulation. 110, 20, 30. 140. Applying hypothesis. Applying what? Hypothesis. Now guys, hypothesis basically means, in Hindi we say anuman. Like I assume ऐसा हुआ होगा. Something must have happened. So the exact definition is a supposition or a proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. Now imagine if I found out that some payments have been made to Mr. A. Mr. A has just transferred to some hospital. So from the company ka bank account, the payment is paid to Mr. A, the employee, and the employee is transferred to hospital. So on the basis of this assumption, what I will say, कि some Mr. A का relative must be in hospital. So he would be funding, he would be using company का money and funding the hospital का treatment. So what, this is my assumption, right? It is my mind saying it. So it is basically my hypothesis. Obviously I will investigate more, but this is my hypothesis. Okay. A proposition made as a basis for reasoning without any assumption of its truth. We may be wrong, we may be right also. So, nature of the engagement, fraud risk factors, laws and regulation applying hypothesis. So, in any forensic accounting investigation engagement, it is necessary to have a clear and defined plan to achieve those objectives. At the same time, maintain the basic principle of objectivity is very much important. This is achieved by applying various hypotheses. Underline this, hypothesis for the examining the subject matter, since this allows a balance between the professional skepticism and to maintain the neutrality. So, you just need to remember the main content and the name. 110, 20, 30, 40. Nature of the engagement, fraud risk factors, laws applying hypothesis. So, I just scribble it for you. You will not write right now. We will write it later on. Okay. 110, 120, 130, 140. This is basically 100 ka series. Okay. Nature of the engagement. (120) guys talks about fraud risk factors. 30 talks about laws and regulations. Here 140 talks about applying hypothesis. Okay. Now 200 ka series. How would you conduct the engagement? Now next would be my 200 ka series. So let's understand. 210 will talks about the objectives of the engagement. 210 talks about what? Objective of the engagement. 210 will define the main purpose and the objective of engagement. Full stop. Objective of the engagement. 220 talks about the engagement, acceptance and appointment. Now, so most 5 engagements come with a degree of sensitivity and inherent risk. This standard establishes the need to conduct any preliminary procedures and due diligence before accepting the engagement. So 220 deals with the responsibility of the professional in the terms of engagement during appointment. Okay. So guys, 210 talks about engagement objective. 220 talks about engagement ka acceptance and appointment. Engagement ka objectives, engagement ka acceptance and appointment. 220. 230 will talks about using the work of an expert. Now the professional may be needing some expert, maybe a valuer, or maybe a legal expert, or maybe a doctor, or maybe an engineer. So 230 mein what it is written about the expert ka thing. So 230 talks about the expert. 240 engaging with the agencies. So there are certain agencies like CBI, CED, SFIO, RBI, SEBI, lot of agencies are there, IRDA, Pollution Control Board. We need to contact them. So law and enforcement agencies are there. So it will be written in 240. 250 communication with stakeholders. 250 talks about communication with stakeholders. So there has to be two-way communication with the stakeholders at various stages of the engagement. It is essential to achieve the objectives of the engagement. So communication with stakeholders is in 250. Now in 200 we will write 210, 220, 230, 240, 250. So guys, 210 talks about engagement ka objectives. What does 210 says? Engagement objectives. 220 will talks about acceptance. Acceptance and appointment. Then using work of expert. Using work of expert. 240 communication with agencies. (250) communication with stakeholders. So this is my 200 ka series. Engaging with agency means communicating. Okay. Now 300. My next series is basically 300. So 310 will talk about planning the assignment. 310 will talk about the planning of assignment. How will you conduct? Who will go where? When? How many days we have to give? So 310 will talk about the planning. So in audit also 300 is basically planning. So you can use 310 planning. Then when you have planned, now you will start the audit. It is called as gathering the evidence and documenting it. So in audit we have different standard for evidence and different standard for document. Here we have evidence and document in 320. So evidence and document, just remember the content, okay, the heading. Conducting work procedures. How will you perform the work? That is basically collecting the data, analyzing the data, interpreting the data, interpreting the information. It is written in 330. 330 will talks about conducting work procedures. Guys, conducting work procedure. The planning, evidence and documentation, conducting work procedures. Fourth, now you will meet people. 340 will talk about conducting interview. 350 will talk about review and supervision. Review and supervision. Now 360, testifying before a competent authority. Testifying basically means they will be called by an authority to confirm the legal proceedings. So a professional may be called upon to testify before a competent authority in relation to a legal proceeding. So which procedure you have to follow? You have to follow SA 360. FIES 360. Testifying before competent authority. So these are the standards. Hold on. So let's quickly recall. In 100 ka series, 110 nature of the engagement, fraud risk factors, laws, regulation, applying hypothesis. Very simple. Nature of engagement, find out the fraud risk factors, check the laws and regulation, apply hypothesis. Now you will conduct the engagement. So what is the engagement objectives? During acceptance, is there any biasness, any undue influence is coming? Then use a work of expert, communicate with the agencies, coordinate with the agencies and communication with the stakeholders. Now when you want to do the work, planning. So the procedural part is in 300, planning, evidence and documentation, conducting work procedures, conducting interview, review and supervision, testifying before the authority, testifying before competent authority. $400. It is on some specialized areas. 410, it says analysis. So this is 400 series. So 410, data analysis. 410 will talk about data analysis. 420, evidence gathering in digital domain. Evidence gathering in digital domain. Okay, 420, it is basically evidence gathering in digital domain. That is email, WhatsApp. Okay, all those will be done in SA 420. FIES 420. Audit. 430. Loans or borrowings. So to check loans and transaction regarding loans and borrowing, it is written in 430. So these are special assignments. Okay. Done. So there in 400 there are only 3 standards. Now 500. So reporting results is in 500. It is basically 510. Only one report. So reporting a format, how will you present the report? It is written in 510. Reporting results. Then 600, there is only one. 610, quality control. So guys, 610 talks about your quality control. So these are the name and number. Till now they have just given one para. See, if you have time you can read it, but just remember the name because they can definitely ask you to identify the name of the standard or the number of the standard. Okay, let's quickly recall. Okay, before we proceed. 110 talks about nature of engagement, 120 fraud risk factor, 130 is basic laws and action, 140 is applying hypothesis. So everywhere there is 10-10 ka gap. Then 200 में 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. engagement का acceptance, sorry, engagement का objective, acceptance and assignments using the work of the expert, coordinating with the agencies, communication with stakeholders. 300 में again 10 गया, 3, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Planning, evidence and documentation, then conducting the work procedures, then conducting the interview, reviewing and supervision, testifying before competent authority. 400 में there were 3 special things, 10, 20, 30, data analytics, then evidence gathering in digital domain, and then loans and borrowing ka transaction. 5, 10 talks about reporting results, 6, 10 talks about quality control. Over. So you don't have to read, oh, chapter is over, wow. You don't have to read the entire content, okay? Just scroll through the name and number, what I have written on the screen. You will be copying it later on. Just read once the name and number because it will be useful in MCQ, okay? Read. Done? Cool. Let's talk about the question. Okay. Oh, standards. They're asking standards. Standards. Now. Oh, like this question will come. Most 5 engagements come with a degree of sensitivity and inherent risk. Which 5 establish a need to conduct preliminary procedures? So at least they have given the series 200 ka series is there. So 100 was about nature of engagement, fraud risk, laws, regulations, and applying hypothesis. Then It was a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 20, 30, 40, 10, 20, 10 ka gap was there. Conducting the engagement, no. Engagement acceptance. 220, I think the answer. I'm just waiting. 210. 210 was engagement co-objective, acceptance and appointment. So you have to conduct preliminary procedures and diligence when evaluating the condition for appointment. 230 talks about work of expert, 240 talks about communication with agencies. So this is not there, this is not there. So I think it will be 220. 220. So I write here first ka B. So this is the reason they will ask you the question, then they will ask us the standard ka name. Find out which standard. Which of the following is distinguished hallmark of forensic accounting investigation standard issued by ICI? Strict requirements to be followed while performing an engagement. This standard is strictly based, thereby leaving little scope for professional to apply judgment. This is a principle based, thereby providing adequate scope for professional judgment when applying such principle to unique situation under specific circumstances. This standard is strictly based on legal requirements having no scope. Here it is no scope, here it is little scope. So little and no scope, no. Judgment, see, always remember all content in audit is about judgment, professional judgment. So I think C should be the answer. C. C. Third. A professional perform forensic work step as a part of an assurance engagement. Which of the following is the most appropriate regarding application of FICE in this situation? Performs forensic work step. FICE would be applicable, FICE would not be applicable. As a part of an assurance assignment. Assurance basically means audit. Is most appropriate. FICE would be applicable to assurance engagement along with other applicable engagements, and applicable FICE would depend upon the nature of evaluation of specific circumstances of the situation. In audit is applicable. I think here FICE would not be applicable because it is about audit, right? It is an audit engagement. So auditing standards would be applicable. I may be wrong. So it will not apply in such a situation. FICE is applicable when you have given a proper forensic assignment. A. Whoa. Which of the following is not one of the basic principles of forensic accounting? Principles. So there were 10 principles. You have read truth. You have read contextualization of situation. You have read respecting rights and obligation. What you have not read? Expressing an opinion. Understood? Anyways, opinion is in audit, not in forensics. Fifth. A professionally qualified chartered accountant carrying membership of professional bodies such as ICA who undertakes forensic accounting and investigation assignment shall use accounting, auditing and investigation skills bound by FICE alone. 5 standards Chartered Accountants Act 1949 only. 5 standards CA Act Code of Ethics issued by ICA and other relevant pronouncement of ICI. 5 standards Chartered Accountants Act 1949 Code of Ethics issued by ICI only. See, if you see the word only, that is an incorrect statement. Anytime, anywhere, if you see the word only, whenever you are solving MCQ, see, there can be nothing only in the world. There has to be some other things also. So this is waste, this is waste. And anyways, we have studied now that chartered accountants are governed by CA Act, Code of Ethics. We have studied this, right? So I would say fifth would be C. Fifth would be C. Let's check the answer. B, C, B, A, C. B, C, B, A, C. B, C, B, A, C. All 5 right. So in this chapter, the name of the standards, the number of the standards are very much important, plus the principles they will test. Okay. I hope you have understood this chapter. It is easy, correct? Now please open your notes. We'll be writing. Few content I'll be giving you to write. Just 2-pager. So that when you go for the exam, before the exam, okay, you have a quick recap. Give the chapter name heading as Introduction and Basic Concept. Introduction and Basic Concepts. Okay. Now important points. First, forensics. Number 2, forensic accounting. Number 3, fraud. Then investigation. Put a curly bracket, read 2.2. Right there, refer page 2.2. So we have done the marking, we have done everything what has to be studied. Then audit, forensic accounting, investigation. Right there, elements. This is on 2.8. Two point eight. Eighth, stakeholders. Draw like this 2 arrow, primary, others. Page 2.10. Page 2.10. Triangle is on 2.10. Right there, motive, opportunity, rationalization, and underline yo are. Diamond. Right there, Corey, capability, opportunity, incentive. Oh, sorry. It will be rationalization, incentive. Fraud, diamond. Then fraud, pentagon, 2.16. Competence, arrogance, rationalization, P is pressure, O is opportunity. The code here is CARPO, CARPO. CARPO. PO. Then 12, is fraud scale. Just right there, page 2.16. Two point 16. 13. Vice. Okay, right there. Framework consists of basic principles, key concepts, standards on FICE, and guidance. Then below this right there, 10 principles, 2.20. Key concept, it was NAFLA. Nature of engagement, fraud risk, laws and regulations, applying hypothesis, NFLA. Standards में you'll have 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. Guidance notes was only one liner, 2.25. Done? Now what will you do? Below this, okay, from here you will start writing standards ka numbers. Copy from the screen the way I have written, so that it becomes easy when you revise. For sure there will be a question, at least one question would be there on the principle, one question on the name and the number of standard. Copy. Done? Okay. So with this, our chapter is over. Okay, we have completed one more chapter. We have written the notes also for a quick recap. Okay, so if you have liked the lecture, do recommend to your friends. They can visit our website and buy, or from wherever you have bought it, you can bought from that platform or that our connect also. Okay, before we wind up the session, I had told you yesterday I'll be showing you some frauds so that you can have a little gist of how, as a forensic professional, we detect it. So DHFL fraud. Okay. So there's a full story. GT Grant Thornton was appointed as the forensic accounting forensic professional. So they've given the full story about DHFL. It's a very nice case study. So whenever you are free, you can read the DHFL story. The website, it's covered in a book called as International Journal of Law Management and Humanities. You will get first link when talk about DHFL fraud. So this is the full fraud. They've given how DHFL pulled off the scam. Okay. Then political donations were there, provisions, we just legal provisions which were attracted, laws and regulations. So DHFL reported net loss of 223 crores in 19 as against a profit of 134 crores and owes rupees 83,870 crores to banks, mutual fund, National Housing Board and all other bondholders. Then RBI superseded the board of directors of DHFL. Major finding by GT report. Okay. Then details of report. It created 2,60,000 fake home loan accounts under PMAY for loans totaling to 14046 crores, of which it routed 11,755 to several fictitious firms known as Bandra book firms. These loans are granted in the scheme to economically weaker sections, low and middle income group of society for the purpose of buying and constructing house. But basically, there was nobody. So loopholes. Then similar scams, consequences of DHL scam. Political involvement in the scam, because see, without political support it is very difficult. You should accept that fact. Suggestions and recommendations, and then conclusion. So like this report they prepare. So obviously the reports were very big. If you want to read the entire report, it's very big. So they were doing very, very big fraud. So DHFL is one of the biggest example to understand forensics. Okay. So when we do the right content, the reporting wala topic will come. I will be reading the entire report, the content. First we will read the provisions, then we'll check an actual report. Okay. So if you want to understand the fraud, the DHFL fraud is an amazing example about forensics. Okay. So basically they created fake accounts to take loan from the government like under Pradhan Mantri Yojana, and they were supposed to give it to the weaker sections, but they never gave it to weaker sections. They gave it to their own firms. So they created like more than 200 small firms were created, and the money was diverted, and then the money was from that small firm went to the Vadhavan brothers. So DHFL co-owner were Vadhavan brothers. So they started buying luxury items, yacht, aeroplanes, houses, and then money laundering. So all this were detected in forensics. Okay. Understood? So whenever we do a topic of reporting, I will be showing the actual report. Cool. Chalo. Bye guys. Take care. Enjoy. And in your regular paper, aim for a rank or 70 plus, which is if you want to buy audit class, you can buy. You can visit the website, buy audit classes from the connector where you have bought this lecture, or from my website, you can buy it. Okay. Bye guys. Take care. See you in the next class.